Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you guys had a great week. It's Friday now, so the week is over. Bitcoin is looking like it's going to possibly close in the red for this week, so we're going to take a look at what's going on in the markets here really quick. The markets were actually up today, but the Bitcoin and Ethereum are down right now. We still have about an hour left to go in the trading day for them before it switches over to the new day. And then we also have the miners. The miners were down for the most part, except for two. I think we're up in the green today. Other than that, we got a couple stories to just take a look at. Main one that we're going to look at is Mawson provides financial results. We're going to look at that and then just go over a couple of stories that just came out. There's not a lot of details. I think it's a little bit of a fluff. So we'll just go over those really quickly and call it a day. So as always, you guys know the drill here. Not financial advice for entertainment only. Do your own research. And I'm investing in the following coins and companies for full disclosure. And let's take a look at the markets here. But first, if you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously. So let's take a look at the market right now. So the S&P was up today 0.56% to 3,970. Dow Jones was up 0.41% to 32,237. NASDAQ was up 0.3% to 12,767. Bitcoin currently is down about 3.28% right now. If we look at it here, the way that I'm looking at it right now, so it's at 27,418. RSI has come down here, and the good part is, if you look at the bottoms here, the troughs or the lows, RSI is right now at 62. The prior low here was at about 65 or so. And you can see the price is up a little bit higher. So I think that's a good sign there. I do think right now that we knocked on our resistance here at 28,600. We are possibly going to be more than likely heading down a little bit more. So our next support line would probably be our 200 weekly moving average, which is our red line here. I'm guessing we might bounce off of that, but we might go up a little bit too. We'll see how that plays out. If we look at the 4-hour chart, we can see that the RSI right now is at 45 roughly. Last time we were back here, price was even lower at that point. So I think that's kind of good there as well. On the 1-hour chart, we can see that the RSI is at 37. Last time we were back here, price was actually higher than that. So that's why I'm saying that I'm thinking that we're possibly going to come down here and test our support of the 200 weekly moving average going forward into this weekend. We'll see how that's going to play out though. But I wouldn't be surprised if we bounced from here anyways on that. If you look at the weekly chart, we can see here that Bitcoin is down right now about 2.24% on the week so far. We still have a couple more days. I usually track Bitcoin in my sheets from Friday to Friday. So for us, it's probably going to be a red week. We'll see how that's going to come out on it. And if we also look at the Bitcoin futures on the CME group, we can see here that this week we did fill our little gap that we had here between the, what was that line? 27,100 and 27,340 roughly. So we did fill that gap, so that looks good there. This gap that was created here the week prior, we filled a gap that was back here. That was a couple weeks ago. So that was good that we filled that one. And then as we bounced over the weekend, I'm thinking this one might be null and void because we did come down, get this gap here. I don't think this gap is going to be now valid going forward, but we'll see. If we do come back down to it, that would be basically right around the 20,370 mark. And that would coincide with our, let's see here, well, 21,000 is our second support line. Our first one would be the, 200 weekly moving average. Then we would go down to the 23,800. After that, we would go down to 21,300. And then our next support line would be somewhere around here at 19,500 possibly. So we may come down and do that, but I think the chances of that happening are pretty slim right now. Okay, let's take a look at Ethereum. Ethereum is also down today to, well, it's down 3.81% to 1,748 right now. It did bounce off of its 200 weekly moving average here a couple of days back, and we've been kind of sitting above this line, kind of trading sideways here, kind of bouncing up and down in this pattern here. It's like we got this kind of blocked pattern that we're bouncing in right now on it. The RSI has been coming down while the price has been kind of going up a little bit here based on the daily. Look at the 4-hour chart. We can see that the RSI is at 45 right now. Last time we were here as well, so it's kind of even there. And on the 1-hour chart, we can look at it and see it's at 38. Last time we were at 38. If we look back, it's kind of flat right now. I mean, it's going back to here, so it is trading sideways right now, at least for the time being. Okay, so that's it for the Bitcoin and Ethereum. Let's take a look at the miners now. So any today was down, let me get rid of this one here. Any was down today 1.92% to 34 cents. Argo was down 6.06% to $1.55. Bit Digital was down 2.1% to $1.40. Bitfarms was down 7.03% to 91 cents. Cypher was down 8.55% to $2.14. CleanSpark was down 6.27% to $2.69. Cores was down 3.48 to 30 cents. DigiHost was down 3.29 to $1.47. DMG was down 2.51% to 23 cents. Greenidge was up today 2.55% to 38 cents. Hive was down 2.8% to $3.12. Hut 8 was down 9.37% to $1.74. Iris Energy was down 8.44 to $2.93. Marathon was down 7.68 to $7.81. Mawson was down 8.08% to $3.30. Riot was down 8.87% to $8.63. Soluna was down 3.94% to 31 cents. Stronghold was up 0.08% to 59 cents. And TeraWolf was down 1.2% to 78 cents. So pretty bad day for the miners today and for Bitcoin and Ethereum as well. We'll see how the weekend goes. We'll see how the miners did versus Bitcoin in a video this weekend. And that's it for the miners. So let's take a look at the network hash rate really quick while we're at it, see where that's heading. And then we'll get into the couple stories that we do have here to talk about. So on the 7-day average, we are bouncing up a little bit here to 324 million terahashes per second on the chart. If we go to the daily, on it, we can see, whoa, man, we had a huge spike here to 344 million terahashes right now on the 1 day. So that's our brand new all-time high. And it looks like maybe Marathon is plugging miners in. We'll have to see if that's the case. Those are getting energized. If that is the case, then it's going to be adding quite a bit of hash rate here in the next couple of days, and it'll definitely push up our 7-day average here for sure when that happens. So we'll keep an eye on that one, okay? All right, let's take a look at the stories that we do have here, which is going to be on, we're just going to go over the titles here. So Iris Energy provides 5.5 exahash installation update. So they've been talking about this for a while. There's not much really new there, but they are getting miners in and they're getting energized and things like that. We don't have all the details yet. I'm sure we'll get some information when they actually provide the information for March. We're in March right now. So when we do get that update, I'm sure we'll see it in there. CleanSpark today also released a ESG and corporate responsibility report. I'm not going to get into it. It's ESG, so I'm not going to get into it. Mawson, we're going to talk about Mawson for their financial results. Argo Blockchain PLC announces grant of equity awards and PDMR notifications. So those are for their employees and things like that. I'm not going to get into it either. Project Dorothy from Soluna is getting energization imminent. So they're getting really, really close to that. They're hoping within the next week or so that they're going to get that energized. And then Bit Digital Inc. announces strategic investment in Aurus Global Limited. And that's just for staking, yield farming, and other things like that for the coins that they do hold, which I believe they hold quite a bit of Ethereum as well right now. So that's kind of what they're getting into. Didn't provide any information as far as how much of an investment they're doing in it, but they are providing it in there. Okay, so that's it for that. Let's take a look at the financial numbers for Mawson. So Mawson Infrastructure Group reports full year 2022 financial results, select financial highlights for fiscal year 2022 compared to fiscal year 2021. And here's what we got. So record revenue of $84.3 million, up 92%. Record gross profit of $36.6 million. That's up 8%. And then record non-GAAP EBITDA of $30.4 million, up 70%. So I've also added EBITDA, however you want to pronounce it, to my spreadsheets. But I'm getting different numbers. They're putting in a lot more things that are not spelled out in my spreadsheets, right? I'm using the financial results, assets, liabilities, revenue, and things like that. We'll go over that. So they're providing a little bit different number than I'm getting. And then record hosting revenue up 13.3 million, up 1,464. So that's good there, but hosting is still, I don't know what the percentage is on that. Well, hopefully we'll get that numbers going from Q1 of this year. I think we'll get some more information on that. New revenue stream from energy markets of 13.7 million. So they are doing a lot of curtailing as well. And then record 1,343 self-mined Bitcoin produced in fiscal year 2022, up 66%. So that was good there as well. So the number that they provided for the year is actually, I believe it's higher than what I had originally recorded. And that's based on what they provide us with each month for the numbers. So if the numbers are off a little bit, just one or two here and there, that's going to mess up my numbers as well. And that's why we'll see a little bit of a difference here in my spreadsheet as well. I'll point that out to you guys. Next is Q4 2022 financial and business highlights. The revenue of 16.8 million, gross profit of 10.1 million, non-GAAP EBITDA of 7.5 million. I have that actually a little bit lower than that. And then they sold Georgia facility for 40 million, and that was to CleanSpark that they sold that to. Okay. Full year 2022 financial and business highlights, record revenue of 84.3 million compared to 43.8 million in last year of 2021. So that's up 92%. Record gross profit of 36.6 million compared to 33.9 million. So that's up 8%. And then record non-GAAP EBITDA of 30.4 million compared to 17.9. Reduction of selling general administrative expenses by 37% from the first half to second half of fiscal year 2022. So that was good there. Continued the 100 megawatt Bitcoin mining facility expansion in Midland, Pennsylvania. Started construction of the 120 megawatt Bitcoin mining facility in Sharon, Pennsylvania. So that's good there. Total infrastructure capacity of available energy at Bitcoin mining facilities reaches 220 megawatts in 2022. So that was good there. Co-location hosting business generated 13.3 million. Revenue in 2022 up 1,464%. Covered that already. Energy markets revenue of 13.7, covered that as well. Corporate development subsequent to year end. They talk about the expansion, commence construction. We talked about that in prior videos already. They transferred, it looks like, all of their Australian miners to US and to Mawson's new focus in the Pennsylvania region. Completed operational exit from Australia. So it looks like they're completely out of that site right there. So that's good that they can kind of focus on one area that they're in. And then Mawson also received all CleanSpark common shares payable to it from the Georgia sale and has liquidated approximately 90% of the stock to cash. The reason I have this in red is I'm thinking this is kind of a mistake, especially if Bitcoin starts going up here. I believe that, as you guys all know, I think CleanSpark is one of the companies that's been the most undervalued, is what I'm trying to say. They're the most undervalued. And I wonder if, based on the selling here of, I don't know when they were selling this, but it looks like they sold 90% of it. I think they got, what was it, a couple million shares of CleanSpark. That could have been keeping the price down also while this has been happening. I think they would have been better off holding on to it, especially as Bitcoin goes through the next bull run that we're possibly going to be getting into. They could have easily, I think, 5x that money in the next year or so. So that's why I have it in red here. I think this was just a mistake. Unless they absolutely needed the cash, well, then that's fine. And then entered a contract for the sale of Mawson's Texas facility and assets with deposit received. So that's actually interesting there that they're getting out of Texas as well. They entered in an exclusivity arrangement for 24 megawatt Ohio facilities on long-term lease and submitted a letter of intent for purchase of an 18 megawatt Ohio facility. So it looks like they're going to be concentrating in Ohio and Pennsylvania more now on facilities, which is interesting as well. And then we're not going to get into the 2023 strategic focus because we've already covered this in previous videos as well. Okay, so let's take a look at my spreadsheet here, which I've been adding, obviously, the information into it here for quite a while. And we'll get through these numbers here as well. So one of the things that I talked about was the EBITDA being added in here. There is some, at least, confusion on my part. So the way it's supposed to work, EBITDA is supposed to be earnings before income tax and depreciation and amortization. So you're supposed to take net profit plus taxes plus interest plus depreciation and amortization. That's kind of what I've been going through these spreadsheets. Some of the miners provide the information in negative numbers. Some provide in positive numbers where they should be negative. So it's a little confusing. So I went through as best as I could through all of these miners here. And then all my Patreon members, or at least hopefully some of you guys, will go through and double check this. I would appreciate it. That would help me out tremendously to know whether I did it wrong or I did it right. But just wanted to point that out to you guys. Okay. So those numbers are definitely different from what some of them have reported. So like Mawson here reported 30 million EBITDA for the year. I have it at 15. And the reason for that is I'm taking the fiscal year 2022 net loss of 54 million, negative 54 million, adding the income tax expense to it, which is zero here, which is fine. And then I'm also subtracting the negative 6 million here for the interest expense, which would be an addition to it, right? And then I'm also adding the depreciation and amortization here, which is a positive. So we want to add that back into it. So like I said, it's kind of funky how they sometimes report, and everybody does it a little bit differently. Some report these as negative, some report them as positive, and then they subtract them for the net margins, net loss, gross profit, and all that stuff. So please do take a look at it if you can. That would help me out tremendously. And let's get into all the numbers that we do have on them. So these numbers are from their report they published to, I believe this was yesterday. So I'm using the same exact numbers here, except for this top section here is all of my metrics. So if there's any mistakes in here, that's on me. If you guys do find any mistakes, please do let me know. I'd appreciate it. Okay, So here's what we got. Current assets. So they reported fiscal year 2022 and Q4. The numbers for the Q4 are as provided by them. Some places I will actually use the numbers that I have to calculate. So some companies don't provide Q4 numbers. They provide the fiscal year 2022 numbers. Then you kind of got to subtract the prior 3 quarters to get the Q4 numbers. But it looks like in here, we have all of the numbers provided for us. So those should be all correct. Okay, current assets is right now $946,000, not million, sorry. But so that is down a little bit here from 1.18, which isn't too bad of a difference. Prepaid expenses is still 3.4, so that's up a little bit from 2.5. So that's good. Trade and other receivables is up to down to 10.4 from 11.7. Assets held for sale, that's way down here to 5.4 from 21. And then digital currency is 0 here, so it looks like they sold everything in Q4. And so total current assets is 20.3 million, excuse me, compared to 37. So that's a big decrease right there. Property and equipment is down to 91 million from 112. Derivative asset is down also about half to 11.3 million roughly to from 21.3. Then what do we got here? Equipment deposits, 0 on that. Let's see, they added a couple new things here. Equity accounted investments, marketable securities. Those are all new things that were added in here that weren't added in the prior quarters. Financial assets is 0. That was, not sure how that came up to be 0, but they said 0. So I wonder if these were part of these. Security deposits is still 2.5 million. So that's down a little bit from 4 million. And then we got operating lease rights of use is down to 2.8 from 3.2. So that's good. And then total assets is down to 133 million from 180 million. So we've been seeing that kind of with pretty much all the miners for the most part. They've been coming down here. And maybe if I can zoom this in for you guys, might be a little bit better. Okay. Liabilities and stockholder equity, total current liabilities equates to 35 million. So that's actually good. It's actually down from 62. So there is an improvement. They had the sale of the facility in Georgia. So trade and other payables is down to 10.5 from 27. So that's good there. Current portion of operating lease is down to 1.3 from 2. So that's good also. Current portion of finance lease liability is 30. It's still about the same, up a little bit here, just barely. Then liabilities held for sale is 0 here, and then borrowings is down to 23 from 31. So that's good there. So total current liabilities is down from 62 to 35 million, which is great. Now, trade and other payables is the same here, looks like 15.3. That's still the same. Operating lease liability, non-current. That looks about the same, up a little higher maybe. Finance lease liability, net of current portion is 83, down from 91, so that's good. And then long-term borrowings is down to 4.5 million from 9 million, so that's good as well. So total liabilities went down to 57 million from 87 million, so it looks like 30 million has been paid off or paid down, which is looking good right there. And then you got total stockholder equity is at 77 million compared to 93, so that's down. Total liabilities and stockholder equity is at 133 million, down from 180 million on that one. Okay, revenues. Here's what we got for them. So they came in at 2.196 million in revenue for self-mining. I have them here at 2.03. So I was off by 7.32%. And the reason for that is the number of Bitcoins that I have them here for the quarter was 110. They reported of 115. All right, I'm using the numbers that they provide us, but these are audited numbers. So these are obviously more correct. So we'll obviously go with those numbers. So I was off because of that. That's the reason why. I just wanted to point that out. And then hosting was 3.4 million for the quarter. So that's actually down from the third quarter, 5.7. Self-mining was also down, obviously, 2.1 million from 5.9. So a big decrease there. Sale of cryptocurrency mining equipment, that was also down 3 million here, 3.7 from 10.3. And then net energy benefits was up 7.4 million from 6.3. So they did curtail possibly more, which I believe they did. Okay. Cost of sales, so this is less cost of revenue excludes depreciation. That was 6,759,000, down from 18.18, so that's good there. They didn't really break it down as far as which is for which, as far as self-mining, hosting, all of that. That would have been nice to see. And then expenses general administrative is down to 4.9 from 5, so that's good there. We had Q2 was really high, 9.4. And then so was Q1 at 6.4. So they're doing better on general administrative, which is good. Then what else here? Share-based compensation up a little bit, 887,000 from 797, but kind of in line here, well, in line for the last 2 months at least. But then you have a big gap here from Q1 to Q2 where it almost tripled, and that's kind of staying in this kind of level right now. Depreciation amortization was 17.1 million from 16.2, which is fine. And then change in fair value was a negative 10 million from positive 3. And then cost of revenue was a total of 22.9 from 8. So that pretty big increase there, and most of it was based on the change in fair value on it. Okay. Let's see here. Gross profit looks like negative 6 million, where we had a positive 6 million. Gross profit percentage was negative 36 compared to 22%. And then if we take gross profit minus depreciation for this quarter, it was 12.4 compared to 29 in the prior quarter. So that's not good there. And then gross profit minus depreciation percentage was 59.89. So that's actually better there. And then Q3 was 35.18%. Okay. Other comprehensive income, let's see here. Loss on foreign currency transactions. They actually had a gain here of 647,000 compared to a loss, which was good. Share of net loss of associates accounted for using the equity method, 1.25 million. So that's a new one there. We didn't have that before in the prior quarters. And let's see what else we have here. Other income was up a little bit, 452, well, quite a bit from 59, but still way down from Q2. Revaluation loss on digital currencies, down 957,000. We didn't have 0 on Q3. Then interest expense was up here, 1.7 from 1.5. So that's up. And then loss on right-of-way property and plant equipment, that's a new one there as well. Profit on sale of site, that's a new one as well. Unrealized loss marketable securities is another new one here, 1.6 negative. And then impairment of financial assets was negative 2.5, which is the highest they've had it here since started tracking these for the past year. And then loss and reclassification of assets held for sale was up 4.195 because it reported 0 here in Q4 or fiscal year 2022, but they had it here. So I wonder if that got moved over into some of these here possibly. That's why that one was up. Let's see. Net loss was negative 19 million, and then net loss attributed to Mawson's infrastructure group shareholders was negative 18.159 million on that one. And basic and diluted share was for the year negative $4.16 for the quarter. Q4 was negative 370. Diluted was 433 and 479. Looks like so. A pretty big loss there. Okay. Next, let's see here. I believe I have it in here as well. And then as far as shares, where they started out at beginning of the year, they had 13.6 million shares outstanding, it looks like, based on the report in their filing. And then at the end of the year, they were at beginning of the year, they were 11.79. At the end of the year, they were at 13.6. So there was some dilution of 1.8 excuse me, million shares in that one. Okay. So overall, some improvements. Some things got a little bit worse, but overall, they're, I think, in the right path going forward. And then here's some of the numbers that we do have for the metrics. BTC mined, like they reported, was 115. Starting hash rate was 1.7 exahash. They ended the quarter at 1 exahash roughly. Average hash rate was 1.3 exahash. Hash rate actually decreased by 700 petahash. And then BTC mined on average was per exahash was 88. So a big decrease here from where they were just in Q3 and Q2. Cost to mine 1 BTC was a negative 198,000. If we take out depreciation, it was still pretty high, 58,000. But that's only including their revenue for self-mining. I'm not including any of the electricity, which I probably should for them since they are curtailing a lot. That would probably offset it quite a bit here for that one, because right now we're just using, well, let's take a look at it. Let's see here. We're taking less cost revenue. Yep, so we're taking all of that divided by BTC mined. Well, that's what we're kind of looking at, the BTC mined. I'm not looking at the actual revenue here on that one, but we're just looking per Bitcoin on that one. And also they don't provide us with this is what they're using, loss of revenue. So on this one, that's the tricky part, right? They're not putting in subcategories here as far as what the cost was on self-mining, hosting, and then, well, the energy benefits, we know that's not going to have it, but if they could at least divide those out a little bit, we could possibly get better numbers as far as what it actually cost them to mine. If we look at the revenue that they had here on these two, well, it's about 5.6, 5.7 million combined, and they had a total revenue of 16. We could possibly use some percentages, maybe figure something out, but we'll do it as is. Right now, until we get maybe more better data. Debt to equity ratio is at 0.74. So that has, let me see here, that has actually, current ratio is the one that we want to be higher. This one we want lower, so that's good. That has decreased. And then the current ratio is at 0.57, so that's down a little bit from 0.6, still not too bad. Book value of equity, so that's assets minus liabilities. That's at 76, so that's down from 92. Price to book ratio, that's at 0.64, up from 0.52. And then enterprise value is just market cap plus debt minus cash. We had negative 9.1 million compared to negative 40 million, so it seems like it's getting better here. Okay, and then beta, like I said, they reported 30 million. I had 15 million, and that's based on the information that I do have here. All right, so that's it for all the numbers, I believe. Oh, revenue. Revenue for the quarter was 16.8 total. General administrative was 5.8, so that's 34.59%. That has increased over Q3, which isn't great. I'd like to see that come down to around 20 or less, potentially, if we can. And that one. Okay, with all that being said and done, let's see here. I think I have the last 3 quarters updated to use the current data that we do have, and we do. Current stock price is $3.30. Shares outstanding based on the market cap is 14.8 million right now, is what I'm calculating. And current hash rate is, well, that's probably wrong. I should update that to include the latest numbers. Is it 532? I think that's wrong. January, February. Oh, it is actually 532. That's the numbers that we're getting. Okay, so they're actually down in production here because they're moving the miners from Australia. That's why. Okay, that's why that is. Now, let's see here. So 5.3, future hash rate, 1.7, that's reported. We don't know if they're going to be buying any other miners. They are about 31% operational right now. Future hash rate growth is about 219%. HODL position, 0 on that one. And then as far as their BTC production, you can see here that December was really their worst month of 23.34. They did a lot of curtailing, it looks like, back then. And then January has gotten a little bit better. February's gotten a little bit better. So hopefully they're now continue on the uptrend, especially when they get more miners installed from Australia in their US facilities as well. So current Bitcoin price is about 24.19 average. That's the average Bitcoin price for the month of March. Current estimated current quarter revenue is estimated at 2.9. That's going to depend on what happens in March, obviously. And then last 3 quarters are final numbers that we have for them. So that's 24.3 million in that. But you can see here a huge decrease for self-mining Bitcoin. We're not including any of the other income in here. We're just looking at self-mining Bitcoin right now. And that's kind of where we are at with them. Combined total is 27.259. If we use a 50% net income from gross revenue, we're looking at about 13.6. EPS or PE, we're using 15. Given where they are right now with the number of shares, we're looking at $13.79 is where I kind of think they should be at just on their Bitcoin mining. We're not including the hosting. We're not including any of the other ones. Hosting, we know, is only like a 10%, 15% profit margin at the very best that they can possibly get for it. So I'm not really using that. Energy is another thing that could definitely help offset some of this and make it even higher possibly. Okay, so $13.79 to $20.69 kind of where I'm looking for them to be possibly. This is where I think they should be. Once they start executing, Bitcoin starts going up and things like that, that is kind of where I see them going forward. Okay, so I think that's it. Pretty straightforward there. Let me know what you guys think of all this. Like, as always, there's a bunch of numbers here involved in all of this. But the good thing is that they are on the right track, I think. Getting rid of the facility in Australia, moving over to the United States with all those, concentrating in a certain geographic region, getting rid of the Georgia facility, now looks like the Texas facility as well. Those are all good things that are going to help them concentrate on those areas over there where they have efficiencies and expertise in. So that's it. We'll see how they continue going forward this year. We'll see where Bitcoin goes. We'll see where everything else. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all the Patreon members as well for their continued support. And we'll see what happens over the weekend. I hope you guys have a great weekend. It's been a fun week. It's been a wild week, but it's been a fun one. So I'll see you guys either tomorrow or Sunday, depending on what we have scheduled. All right, until then,